want to remind the Albuquerque Center folks that there is a survey that I absolutely want you to do. I don't care how involved, how new, how little involved you may or may not be. I want to hear from everyone. So please, please, please take the survey. You can get the QR code here, or you can get it in our newsletter if you receive that. Please, 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 we want to hear from you. Happy Father's Day, happy solstice. This is the perfect day to talk a little bit about the divine masculine. And I wanted to talk about it maybe in a slightly different way than we're used to talking about it. So one of the creation stories that comes out of Egypt, and many of you know I was in Egypt earlier this year and I got to learn this creation story that's a little different than we typically learn, which is Geb and Newt were lovers, and lovers for infinite time, forever and ever, like just doing their things, loving each other up. And Ra, the godhead in the Egyptian mythology tradition, was like, it's time to create life. It's time to create the world. And so y'all are gonna have to pull away from each other. And they were like, yeah, no, thank you. And so they were like, we will not be disturbed. So Ra decided to bring the wind forward, Shu. And Shu, the wind, blew in between Geb and Newt and forced them apart. And Newt became the sky, she became the sky, and Geb became the earth, the ground. So the way that I like to think about this divine masculine aspect, which lives in each of us and is expressed in a variety of beautiful rainbow-colored ways, but this divine masculine, one of its aspects is that thing in the divine that says, I got you. I got you. I'm the ground you stand on. I got you. And when we are in harmony and when we are in balance with our divinity, there is a thing in us that knows how to be the ground. Right? Which is the healthy version of fatherhood and parenting. I got you. But there's the feminine aspect as well, that is the flourishing, that is the air, that is the motion, that is the rain, that is the things that require the earth to move, the water that flows, the rivers, the ocean tide. And it is up to the ground to hold all of the possibility for the flourishing of life. And so when we're in balance, when we're in harmony, we have both moving in our lives. And then there's the times when we're not. I've had several conversations lately with masculine folks in my life about exhaustion, about feeling like they were trying to give from an empty cup. And this is the work of us getting into harmony with our divine masculine. Like when we are attempting to be the rock, right? One of the conversations I had recently with a father was about being the rock for his family. And he's tired. He's tired. So if you're the rock, who's the rock for you? Right? I live in a neighborhood that's on the acequias. And there's lots of conversations right now about the maintenance of the lateral channels that the water runs through. Because without maintenance, some of we call them the ditches, some of the ditches no longer serve very well to flow the water through. And so we're having conversations about maintenance and what do we do and reshaping these ditches, and then how do we keep the shape that is the most effective to run the water. And some folks are like, let's do the most permanent thing we can do. Interesting option. So maybe we're not going to line it with concrete and PVC, just my 2 cents. And here's part of why. We had this really great conversation. There's a Native woman who's one of my neighbors, and she went all the way in. She was like, we got to think about the 7 generations. We got to think about what does this mean, beyond us, and da-da-da-da-da. And so we started to have a conversation about when we put a rigid, impermeable liner in there to hold the water flow, the relationship between all of these elements can no longer flow. So sometimes I think this is what patriarchy has done with the masculine, right? Instead of this incredible power to hold space and hold structures and to provide the support necessary, the actual foundation, the ground, so that life can flourish, which is the power of the divine masculine, we want to just lay concrete down and make it easy. Let's just get rigid, right? Let's become inflexible. Because that means now I'm stronger and more powerful, right? If I'm just this rigid, inflexible, absolutely impenetrable force, that's the best version, right, of strength and power. This is what we're given. This is what men are given. Because ain't nobody winning out here in patriarchy, by the way. Nobody's winning in it. So the beauty of divine masculinity, again, that we all have flowing within us, the yin and the yang, isn't to be rigid and inflexible. It's to do the work that allows love to move, that allows the relationship through all of life, the wholeness, to flourish. So the riverbank maybe will last longer if it's lined with concrete. But now, who's holding the bank itself and the life that is meant to live as a result of that water moving through? Right? Because the riverbank holds the water and makes it possible for that life to flow. But that life doesn't begin and end with the water. That life is the roots that are holding that riverbank up. The biome and the microorganisms that are all working and being fed by that water that is the bank. So when you think as the masculine, it is my job to hold it all down, to be the rock. Your job is really to be the riverbank. Your job is not to be the concrete. Your job is to be flexible and penetratable so that you too can be fed, because what happens to riverbanks without roots? Anybody? They collapse. They can no longer do their job. Erosion. Anybody know what that might feel like? The collapse. When you suddenly realize you don't have any roots to hang on to. And you're like, oh, wait now, I'm about to fall here. I'm hearing this a lot from the masculine folks in my life. They're collapsing. And that collapse is the lack of the roots. It's the lack of the relationship with the whole. Trying to be something that is actually not natural. Concrete is not natural. And yet the water needs the support to flow. Nothing can grow and flourish and blossom and bloom and feed humanity if they do not have a ground to grow from. So this foundation is critical to the wholeness of life. But we've gotten lost from what it actually means. From what the divine intended this masculine power to actually be. To be the way of love. To be the supporter of blossoming. And to recognize that in order for the masculine to do what it does at its best, it must be in harmony with the feminine. In the micro and in the macro. which means we have to get in relationship with those elements in ourselves. And normally when I teach manifesting, when I teach like this is how you create the life that you want to, I teach it in this order. You have to be the thing so that you can do the thing so that you can have the thing. Right? That's normally the order I teach it in. I am going to switch up that order because this is about not necessarily creating the life you want, even though it'll bring it. This is about being the nature that the divine has designed you to be. Which means you must have the foundation and the structure before you can be that and give that to somebody else. If you are trying to be the rock, if you are trying to be the foundation for your family, for your community, for your beloveds, you must know how to be held first. You must know how to allow the divine to hold you and nourish you and feed you first. Which means you have to know how to be held. And this is one of the great tragedies of colonization and patriarchy, is men have forgotten how to be held, let alone to even value it. And this is where the work of spiritual practice and ritual really comes into play. So being willing to be held, to have the structure serve you first. And then you've got to create the practices and the rituals and lean into the ceremonies that actually hold you, that actually provide the foundation you need individually. Which is why we're talking about ritual this month. And those rituals might be, what do you do upon waking? How do you greet your day? How do you share a meal with your beloveds? Do you bless one another? Can we hold hands for a minute and thank all the ways the food has made its way to this table? This is ritual. Do we come together in community like this and dance it out with the intention of celebrating our natures as sacred and divine? And this is something that the masculine needs just as much as anybody else on the planet, is to define with discipline, right, the structure to create the things that hold you down. What are the habits? What are the practices? What are the rituals? How do you allow people to be there in the role of support in your life? So that then you can become the rock for your family, in your neighborhood, in your communities, in your beloveds, and at your workplace. But you have to allow the roots of your practices of love and your relationships to run all the way through you, to give you the strength to be the riverbank, to be the support that you want to be, that you've been designed to be. God doesn't make mistakes. Systems and structures make a lot of them. And when we take our power back, when we regurgitate the Kool-Aid, we can move back into the truth of our natures as people made of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and in the balances that we have uniquely in each and every one of us. But if you find yourself in the role of fathering, if you find yourself in the role of parenting and you're having to hold down the foundation of your family, the first question you must ask yourself is, what do I need? What do I need to be the foundation for my family? Next question is, how will I create the practices and the habits that support me to be that foundation and that rock? And next question is, who really needs me to be the rock? Who really? Because we are not going to be out here doing it all for everybody all the time. This is where that empty cup begins to happen. So answer the question in your life, who needs me to hold them down? And then you let those answers, who needs me? What are the practices and habits in my life that help me to be solid? And how am I supported in it? When you answer these three questions, you will know what are the rituals, what are the ceremonies you need to lean into in your life to bring all of that together. Who are the people that I am going to invite in to my system of care, of wholeness? And when you do that, you become the way of flourishing for the divine in your life. All the things that you want to see happen in your life, all the blessings that you want to receive, that you want your families and your beloveds to receive, happen because you've done it. Because you've answered these questions. You've decided to open yourself to support and rootedness. You get into good habit around your practices. And you meet the call of the people you are called to support. Those are your marching orders as people who identify as masculine. Those are your marching orders. How do I get supported? What are the practices and habits I am needing to put in my life that bring me back into alignment with the truth of my sacred nature? And then how do I meet the call of the love and the beloveds who need me to serve in that way? Not more than that, not less than that. All right. So these are some things I'm going to ask you to think about as you begin to dance. I'm going to ask you to be thinking about how, maybe specifically as a masculine identified person, how can I let go of rigidity as I move today? How can I welcome a fluidity in my body, in my community, that allows me to be supported and allows me to be the support?